In this video, we're going to go over adding transitions to extreme sports essay. So when we open this assignment, you're going to notice at the top we have a direction sheet. So if you open it, you're going to notice there are 3 steps. The first step is we need to choose 2 pieces of text evidence, and notice how this can come from any of your body paragraphs. So remember, we have 6 pieces of text evidence total because we have 3 body paragraphs, and each body paragraph has a piece of text evidence. All we need to do is choose 2 pieces. And then we're going to add a transition from this table. I'm calling this the awesome transition table because these are high-level transition words that we need to work on using in our writing. Remember, transitions help our paper flow more smoothly, helps us make a point, and they just make our writing more interesting. Second step, we're choosing 2 exclamations, and we're doing the same thing. We're adding a transition word from the table. When we're finished, we're going to highlight the transition words that we use yellow. So when you're finished, you should have a total of 4 transition words. So if we go back to this assignment, you're going to notice your paper is not here. So first thing we need to do is we need to add your paper. Now if you were in class when we did this together, but if you were absent, you may not have done this yet. So to add a paper, you're going to click on Add and then click on Google Drive. And we're looking for our extreme sports paper. So this is our 5-paragraph essay. It's going to be colorful and it's going to be fairly recent. So when you scroll down through your drive, you're looking for something that's colorful, fairly recent. Mine is right here. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to click Add. And after a few minutes or seconds, it'll pop up. So I'm going to open this up. And remember, my first job, if I'm looking at step 1, is I'm looking for 2 pieces of text evidence to add a transition word to. Now, when we do this, first of all, we can't just throw any transition word in. For example, a lot of people like to use however, but remember, however is a contrasting word. So one way to remember what type of word it is look in the transition page in our interactive notebook. So however doesn't work real well most of the time because most of the time your text evidence does not contrast with your topic sentences. Also, most of the time your text evidence really doesn't contrast with each other. Most of the time they compare with each other, they build on each other, they make a point. So let's take a look at our topic sentence here. And our topic sentence says the one reason that we don't want kids to play extreme sports because there's a lot of risks. And when we read this text evidence, we notice how this is really an example of a specific person who went through high risk playing an extreme sport. So for this one, if we go back to this table, we could use for example because that would work really well for that paragraph. So I'd write, for example, and then I would highlight it yellow. Now, since this is right after the topic sentence, it's already yellow. So I took care of one piece of text evidence. Now I need to take care of another one. Okay, so if I'm looking through this paragraph, now remember, if you use quotes, so if we're using word for word like these paragraphs are, we can't add transition words in a quote because we're technically changing the author's word. So if you're using orange, if you're paraphrasing, you can add transitions in the quote. But if you're using a red sentence, the only place you can put a transition for the text evidence is in the sentence starter. So for this one, notice how this piece of text evidence actually builds on this. So this is talking about how psychologists are saying that kids tend to think what's happening right now and not in the future, or not an hour from now. Okay, this is kind of more information about this. So a good word for more information would be furthermore. And that came from our table. And we're going to make sure we highlight this yellow. Now some of you guys are pretty good at using transition words. You might have already used transition words in your writing. And if you did, you can just highlight those yellow and not have to add any. So one way to do this, remember, is to click Control F. It brings up a search bar. And let's pretend that I'm pretty sure I used the word however in here. I'm going to type it in, click Enter. Notice I did use however. It's right there. So I don't really need to add another one. I can actually just highlight this. And it's already there. So now I technically have 3 transition words in my text evidence. Next thing we're going to do, so we kept care of step 1, now we're on step 2. We're going to find 2 exclamations where we can add transition words to. Now exclamations, they should really make a point. So we could be really looking at the transition words that emphasize a point in our interactive notebook. Okay, now this one, we could say something like, without a doubt, kids should not play extreme sports. Okay, that's just one of our make a point transition words. And that works really well for this piece of exclamation. Okay, and this one here we could put certainly, this proves. And this again would drive home the point that we're trying to make a point. So now that I'm finished, I'm going to click Turn In up at the top, and I'm all finished. If you have any questions, please see me at school, or you can send me a message on here and I'll answer it.